The night was heavy with smoke and the sound of sirens. A blazing fire engulfed an old factory on the outskirts of the city, its flames painting the sky in fierce shades of orange and red. Amidst the chaos, firefighters rushed in and out, carrying hoses, axes, and stretchers. Among them was Alex, a seasoned firefighter with years of scars and victories etched onto his heart. By his side bounded Blaze, his loyal rescue dog, a German shepherd with keen eyes and a spirit as fierce as the fire itself. Alex and Blaze had been partners for years. Together, they had saved countless lives, pulling children from collapsed homes, sniffing out survivors buried beneath rubble, guiding the lost through smoke-filled halls. To the city, Alex was a hero. But to Blaze, Alex was simply family. That night, the call was unlike any other. Inside the collapsing factory were dozens of workers, trapped and terrified. The flames spread quickly, choking the halls with smoke. Alex pulled his mask tight, patted Blaze's neck, and gave a simple order. "Find them, boy." Blaze's nose twitched, and he shot forward into the fire. Alex followed, his heart pounding as the floorboards groaned beneath his boots. They found their first victim, a young man coughing violently behind a stack of crates. Blaze barked sharply, drawing Alex to the spot. Alex heaved the man onto his shoulder and guided him outside, Blaze circling them protectively. But they weren't finished. Again and again, Blaze darted into the inferno, leading Alex to more survivors. Each time they emerged, soot-stained and breathless, the crowd outside cheered. Yet deep inside, in the farthest wing of the building, a cry pierced the roar of the flames. Blaze barked, ears pricking. Alex knew what it meant. Someone was still inside. They pushed deeper, the fire clawing at their gear, the air growing thin. At last, they found a worker pinned beneath a fallen beam. Alex strained, muscles burning, until with one final heave, he freed the man. But the effort left him staggering. The building shuddered, walls cracked, the roof threatened to give way. Alex shoved the man toward the exit. "Go! Run!" Blaze snarled, pulling at Alex's sleeve, urging him to follow. But Alex's eyes were fixed on the ceiling above. It was coming down. With a roar, the building collapsed. Dust and fire swallowed everything. When silence fell, the world seemed far away. Alex opened his eyes, not to smoke and ruin, but to a strange stillness. The pain was gone. His gear was unburned, and Blaze stood beside him, unharmed, tail wagging slowly. Before them stretched a radiant road, leading to a golden gate that shimmered like the dawn. A majestic figure waited there, robes flowing, voice deep and steady. "Welcome, Alex. You have fought bravely. This is heaven. Enter and rest." Alex blinked, confusion swirling. He looked at Blaze. The dog's amber eyes met his, full of trust. Alex straightened his shoulders. "Can my dog come with me?" The figure shook his head. "I am sorry. Only humans may pass through this gate. Animals have no place here." Alex froze. Behind him lay only the darkness of death. Before him was eternal peace. But Blaze was being turned away. He placed a hand on Blaze's head, his voice firm. "If he can't come in, then I won't either." The figure's eyes narrowed, yet Alex didn't move. He turned his back on the shining gate and walked into the shadows, Blaze padding faithfully by his side. Somewhere beyond the darkness, another path awaited. The Whitmore Canine Estate stretched wide across the northern Texas hills, an empire of kennels, training fields, and high fences. The billionaire recluse Mr. Whitmore had built it with military precision. Each dog trained for obedience, loyalty, and discipline. But at the farthest edge of the property, away from the others, there was one enclosure no handler approached without fear. Inside lived Max, a massive German shepherd whose eyes burned with cold fire. His muzzle was scarred, his growl sharp as broken glass. He didn't bark. He threatened. He didn't chase. He attacked. 3 trainers had tried to rehabilitate him in 6 months. 2 had left with stitches, 1 with a broken arm. And yet, Whitmore refused to put Max down. No one understood why until they saw the photo on his office shelf, a boy of 8 sitting on a doorstep, holding a shepherd that looked exactly like Max. Beneath it, a caption, "Me and Duke, 1965. Dogs had always been Whitmore's tether to the past, the only love he ever truly knew. Max was not just a beast to him. Max was memory, was connection, was the last living thread to the boy he once was. That was why, one brisk morning, Whitmore made his announcement himself. Arms crossed, silver hair tugged by the wind, his voice steady as steel. $1 million to whoever can make Max gentle again, not just obedient, trusting, kind. Save him, and the money is yours. No one laughed. No one thought it was a joke. Everyone knew. It wasn't about the money. It was about saving Whitmore's heart. Far away in the city, Maya drifted like smoke. At 12 years old, she had already mastered invisibility. She slipped through crowds, slept on concrete without shivering too loud, and begged without words. Her sweatshirt was damp, her sneakers broken, her eyes too old for her small face. She didn't remember her parents clearly. Just fragments. A lullaby, the smell of cinnamon, the warmth of a jacket she could no longer picture. Those memories had been traded for hunger, for nights curled under awnings, for days spent wiping windshields at stoplights. Her voice had grown quiet. The world rarely listened, so she had stopped speaking to it. One afternoon, crouched near a parking lot, she overheard two delivery drivers talking. "You hear about Whitmore, the crazy old billionaire?" "Yeah, offering $1 million to anyone who can fix his devil dog." Fix? That shepherd nearly tore a man's arm off. Maya's ears perked. She didn't move, didn't blink, just listened. 1 million for a dog. That night, curled under the rusted awning of a closed gas station, her stomach growling, she thought of nothing else. Not money. She couldn't even picture what $1 million was. But the dog. A dog no one could reach. A dog like me. Her fingers clutched her knees tighter. Maybe it doesn't need fixing. Maybe it just needs someone to stay. She woke before dawn, tied her frayed sneakers, slung her cracked plastic water bottle over her shoulder, and began walking. No address, no GPS, just a name she had overheard. Whitmore Canine Estate. The streets faded into fields. Concrete gave way to dirt roads. Her legs burned, her lips cracked, but she pressed on. People she asked for directions laughed or shrugged. "Out there? Kid, you're wasting your time." But she didn't turn back. By dusk, she stood before a tall wooden gate flanked by iron bars and silent cameras. Beyond it stretched hills and buildings gleaming in the last light of day. She touched the cold iron, whispering, "I made it." When she knocked the first time, no one came. After an hour, a guard finally appeared, sunglasses reflecting her dirt-streaked face. "What do you want, kid?" Her voice was steady, almost too quiet. "I heard about Max. I want to try." The guard snorted, not laughed, snorted. "You? That dog would eat you alive." He walked away without opening the gate, but Maya didn't leave. That night, she slept curled against the fence, coyotes howling in the distance. By morning, she was still there. The guard frowned. "Still here? Go home." "I don't have one," she said simply. By the third day, whispers spread among the staff. The girl at the gate, the one who didn't leave. Someone slipped her half a sandwich. She nodded in thanks, ate it slowly, and stayed. On the fourth morning, as the sun climbed, a second guard radioed. "Sir, there's a kid here. Says she wants to see Max. She's been here every day." Static crackled. Then a voice replied, "I'll be there in 10. The crunch of boots on gravel made Maya straighten. She didn't turn. She didn't need to. The man's presence was enough to hush the air. Mr. Whitmore, the billionaire recluse, once on every magazine cover, now hidden behind fences and silence. He wore a dark coat despite the heat, silver brows drawn tight. His eyes swept her from tangled hair to worn shoes. "You're the one who's been waiting." Maya nodded. "Why?" Her answer came quiet, steady. "They say no one can reach Max. Maybe that's why I should try." Whitmore's face didn't change, but something flickered in his gaze. Surprise, maybe? Or memory. "He's not safe. I know. And you think you can fix him?" "No." She shook her head. "I don't think he needs fixing. Maybe he just needs someone who won't leave." The silence stretched taut. Then, slowly, Whitmore removed his sunglasses. His eyes, old and burdened, softened as they turned toward the distant kennel. Finally, he spoke. "Be here at sunrise. You'll have one chance." Maya nodded, calm, certain, as if she had been waiting for this moment all her life. The dawn air was cold, damp with dew, when Maya stepped into the training yard. The grass brushed against her torn sneakers, and her hoodie clung to her thin frame. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of what this moment meant. Across the yard, handlers moved briskly, setting things in place. Their eyes flicked toward her with doubt and unease. Some whispered. Others shook their heads. No one believed this would end well. At the far corner stood a thick, reinforced post driven deep into the earth. A heavy chain coiled around it, its metal links scarred from strain. It was where Max had been tethered for months. He was too dangerous to be left free. Whitmore stood apart from the handlers, arms folded tightly across his chest, his jaw clenched. His presence was sharp, commanding. Yet his silence betrayed something deeper. He wasn't just here to see if Maya could succeed. He was here because he needed to know. Then Max appeared. The moment his paws hit the dirt, the air grew tense, as though the earth itself braced for him. He was magnificent. His coat black and silver, his body lean and muscled, every movement precise, taut, electric. But his eyes were sharp, restless, wild. They searched the field like a soldier scanning for enemies. The handler clipped the chain to his thick collar and stepped back instantly, his face pale. Max growled, low and guttural, then lunged forward with such force the chain rattled violently. Dust rose beneath his claws as his teeth flashed in the morning light. Maya didn't flinch. She walked slowly, deliberately, until she stood just beyond the reach of his tether. Her chest rose and fell, steady, steady, as if she had borrowed courage from somewhere infinite. And then she knelt. No commands, no gestures, no tricks, just stillness. Max barked suddenly, the sound exploding across the yard like a gunshot. His muscles surged as he lunged, straining the chain until it sang with tension. Handlers shouted from the sidelines, "Get her out of there! She'll be torn apart." But Maya didn't move. She stayed kneeling, hands resting loosely on her knees, her gaze soft but never piercing. She didn't challenge him. She didn't look away in fear. She gave him space to choose. Minutes crawled by. 5, 10. The bark that had rattled the air fell silent. Max paced in circles, panting heavily, eyes locked on the girl who refused to flinch. Still, Maya waited. At last, Max slowed. His chest rose and fell with ragged breaths. He stopped at the farthest length of his tether, staring. His ears twitched, uncertain. Then, he sat. Not in obedience, not in surrender. He sat because curiosity had slipped, fragile and new, into the space where rage had lived. A hush fell over the handlers. One muttered in disbelief, "He's sitting." Maya noticed but didn't react. Slowly, very slowly, she reached into her hoodie pocket. From it, she pulled a small, half-eaten granola bar, unwrapped it carefully, and placed it in the dirt in front of her. Then she drew her hand back. The scent drifted toward Max. His nose twitched. His eyes flicked from the food to her, then back again. Seconds dragged like hours. He took a step forward. The chain clinked faintly. Then another. And another, until he stood inches away, the granola bar between them. His breath came hot and sharp against her face. His eyes burned, testing, searching. Maya lowered her gaze, not meeting his directly, and whispered, her voice so soft only he could hear, "It's okay. I'm not here to make you do anything. I just want to be here." Something shifted inside the beast. Her voice, gentle, undemanding, without fear, touched something buried deep. A memory, perhaps. An echo of warmth long lost. Max lowered his head, sniffed the granola bar, and in one swift motion ate it. Then, astonishingly, he sat down beside her. Not chained by obedience. Not commanded by fear. Just there. With her. Silence. Absolute silence. The handlers froze, unable to believe their eyes. One lowered his radio, whispering, "That's impossible." Whitmore, still as stone, finally unclenched his jaw. His eyes, sharp and tired, fixed on the girl and the dog sitting quietly in the morning light. After a long pause, he stepped forward, his boots crunching softly on gravel. "You did it," he said, his voice low but clear. "No one else has ever come close. You've won." But Maya didn't smile. She looked down at Max, who now leaned gently against her side, his breathing calm. She brushed her hand along his back once, then rose to her feet. "I don't want the money," she said. The words hung heavy in the air. Whitmore raised his brows, but stayed silent. Maya's voice was steady, but her eyes carried something fragile, something she had hidden all her life. "I want a room, somewhere safe, a bed I won't get kicked out of at night, 2 meals a day, and school. I want to go to school." The handlers exchanged stunned looks. Whitmore studied her, as if trying to see through her skin, to the child beneath the scars. His voice softened. "That's all, Did? That's all." His gaze shifted to Max. The dog, once untouchable, now rested calmly at the girl's feet, eyes tracking every movement of his master. Not with fear, but with trust. Whitmore exhaled slowly, his voice quieter this time. "You'll live in the main house. We have a spare room. You'll eat with me. And tomorrow, we'll enroll you in school." Maya's shoulders, tense for years, finally relaxed. She gave a small nod. "Thank you." Whitmore stepped closer, laying a hand on her shoulder, his touch unexpectedly gentle. "You don't know what you've done," he said. "Not just for him, for me, too. And for the first time in many years, There was peace in his voice. The days that followed unfolded like the slow thaw of winter into spring. At first, every step Maya took toward Max was measured, cautious, as though the fragile thread connecting them could snap at the slightest pull. But each morning, when she entered the training yard, Max would already be waiting, ears pricked, tail stiff, his eyes alert. He no longer lunged at the sight of her. Instead, he watched and he waited. Whitmore observed from the sidelines, his expression unreadable. He gave no instructions, no encouragement, no warnings. Perhaps he wanted to see if the miracle of the first meeting could repeat itself, or if it had only been a fleeting accident. Maya brought small offerings each day. A slice of bread, a bit of jerky saved from dinner, a piece of apple tucked into her sleeve. She never forced them on him. She would set them down, step back, and let him decide. And each time, Max chose to come closer. One morning, as frost still clung to the grass, Maya stretched out her hand, not to touch, but simply to rest it open on the ground. Max lowered his head, sniffed cautiously, then after a long pause, pressed his nose lightly against her palm. A shiver ran through her, not of fear, but of awe. For the first time, she felt warmth that wasn't fleeting, wasn't taken from her, it was given. Training sessions became a rhythm. Maya's voice, soft, steady, guided Max more than commands ever could. She didn't bark orders. She spoke as though she were sharing secrets with him, and Max responded in kind. When she asked him to sit, he sat, not out of fear of punishment, but because he chose to trust. When she beckoned him forward, he followed, not as a beast chained, but as a companion testing freedom. The handlers, once skeptical, began to watch with something close to reverence. Whispers spread, "She's changing him." But what they didn't see was that Max was also changing her. For the first time in years, Maya laughed. It was quiet, almost startled, the sound breaking from her lips when Max splashed clumsily into a water trough chasing a ball. The handlers stared, wide-eyed, not at the dog, but at the girl who had forgotten what it meant to laugh. Whitmore, standing apart as always, heard it too. And though he didn't smile, something in his posture softened, almost imperceptibly. At night, in the small room Whitmore had given her, Maya lay awake with Max curled on the rug by her bed. She would watch his chest rise and fall, steady, steady, until her own breath matched his. For the first time, the silence of night did not feel like an enemy. She whispered things into the dark, fragments of memories, pieces of wishes she never dared to voice aloud. My mom used to braid my hair before school. I hate the rain. It reminds me of the night everything went wrong. Do you think dogs dream? Max would stir, shift closer, sometimes rest his heavy head against her arm. And in those moments, Maya wasn't just a forgotten child. She was someone's person. Whitmore, though stern, kept his word. Maya ate at the table with him, the silence between them slowly filling with small exchanges. At first, just a nod, then a question. Did you finish your homework? How was Max today? She began school the following week. She arrived in secondhand clothes, her notebooks crisp and untouched. Whispers followed her there too, but she didn't flinch. Each day, she returned to Max, her anchor. When classmates laughed, when teachers scolded, when the weight of being different pressed on her chest, she would kneel in the yard, press her forehead against Max's, and breathe. And somehow, it was enough. One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in fire and gold, Whitmore stood watching as Maya and Max trained in the yard. The dog, who once knew nothing but rage, now leapt gracefully through obstacles, landed at Maya's side, and awaited her next word. She rewarded him not with commands, but with quiet praise, her hand brushing his fur as though he were something sacred. Whitmore's throat tightened. In the fading light, he didn't see a broken beast and a street girl anymore. He saw a team, a family. He turned away, his voice rough as he muttered to himself. Maybe this is what I've been waiting for. But he didn't realize Maya had heard, and for the first time, she wondered if Whitmore's scars might be as deep as hers. The weeks that followed blurred into months. Maya and Max had become inseparable, a rhythm of breath and heartbeat that others could sense even from a distance. Where she went, he followed. Where he faltered, she steadied him. Whitmore, watching with careful eyes, decided the time had come to test what they had built. The first trial was simple, or at least it looked that way. A controlled fire in an abandoned training house, smoke thickening the air until vision became no more than shadows. Max hesitated at the threshold, muscles tense, old memories flickering in his eyes. Maya crouched beside him, her voice low and steady. "It's okay, I'm here." And he moved forward. Together, they navigated through the smoke. Maya trusted Max's nose more than her own sight, and he trusted her voice more than instinct. When they emerged into the daylight, dragging a dummy from the wreckage, the handlers erupted into cheers. For the first time, they believed. But Whitmore was not satisfied with one victory. He knew trust forged in calm could shatter in chaos. The second trial came weeks later, a rescue simulation in a collapsed structure, unstable beams groaning with every step. Max darted ahead, nose to the ground, tail stiff with focus. Maya followed, heart hammering. They found the first dummy quickly, then another. But as they reached deeper inside, the roof shifted with a thunderous crack. Dust rained down. Max barked frantically, circling Maya as if to shield her. Her hands shook, but she knelt and whispered, "We don't stop. We don't run. We finish." And Max, as though understanding every word, pressed forward again. When they emerged, covered in ash, Maya dragging the last dummy with Max tugging at its sleeve, Whitmore's silence spoke louder than applause. His eyes gleamed, not just with pride, but with something deeper. Yet not every trial was fire and rubble. Some were quieter, crueler. At school, the whispers grew sharper. The dog girl, they called her. The orphan with a beast. One boy threw stones at Max as they passed by the gate. Max growled, ears back, ready to lunge. Maya's hand tightened on his collar. "No," she whispered, her own voice trembling with anger she refused to unleash. "Not like them. We're better than that." And Max, astonishingly, obeyed. But that night, alone in her room, Maya cried into his fur, the weight of the world pressing down on her small shoulders. Max licked the tears from her cheeks, his silent vow stronger than words. Whitmore began to share pieces of himself too. Over late dinners, he spoke of battles past, of men he'd lost, of mistakes that haunted him. His voice was rough, almost unwilling, but Maya listened with quiet eyes that didn't judge. One night, after a long silence, he admitted, "I took Max because I thought he could be remade. I didn't realize it was me who needed to change." Maya reached across the table, resting her hand lightly on his weathered fingers. "You didn't change him. We changed each other." For a long moment, Whitmore said nothing, but his hand didn't pull away. The final trial came without warning. A storm lashed the city, lightning cracking the sky in jagged veins. A call came through, real this time, not a simulation. A building had collapsed near the riverbank, and people were trapped inside. Whitmore hesitated. Maya was still just a child, but she stood tall, Max at her side, both of them steady as stone. "Let us go," she said firmly. "We're ready." And so they went. Through rain and mud, through cries and chaos, they worked. Max found survivors where human eyes saw only rubble. Maya pulled them free, guided by his barks, driven by his faith. Hours passed. Lives were saved. And when at last the storm quieted, Maya and Max stood together, soaked and shivering but unbroken. For the first time, Whitmore embraced them both. His voice was hoarse as he whispered, "You are no longer my student. You are family." That night, lying in bed with Max curled close, Maya felt something she had never known before. Not just survival, not just endurance, but belonging. And as she drifted to sleep, her hand resting on Max's fur, she realized that home wasn't a place or a building. It was a bond. Years passed, though in the Haven, time did not march as it did on Earth. Seasons shifted gently, but no one aged, no one ached, and sorrow never lingered for long. For Alex, it was a peace he had never known in life. And yet the heart he carried still bore questions. Blaze, ever faithful, remained at his side. The dog's eyes still burned bright, his bark still echoed strong, as though no flame had ever touched him. Together they walked the endless fields, climbed the silver hills, and rested by rivers that sparkled with light. But always, beyond the horizon, Alex felt a pull, as though there was still something unfinished, something waiting. One evening, as the sky glowed with the colors of dusk, Alex stood by the gate he had once turned away from. Its brilliance had not dimmed, nor had the Guardian's watchful presence faded. The figure's voice was the same as before, solemn, unwavering. "You still refuse to enter." Alex placed a hand on Blaze's neck, his voice firm yet gentle. "Not without him." The figure studied them both, silence stretching like an unspoken riddle. Then, for the first time, a flicker of something, curiosity, respect, crossed his ageless face. Few men would give up eternity for a beast. Alex smiled faintly. He's not a beast. He's my partner, my family. As if in answer, a wind stirred across the fields. Another gate shimmered into being behind them, simpler, humbler, but radiating warmth. Its doors stood open, and from within poured a light that was not blinding, but welcoming. A voice, different from the guardians, softer, kinder, called out, "This is heaven also. Here all who are loved may enter." Alex blinked, heart quickening. He looked down at Blaze, who wagged his tail once, as if to say, "Finally." The first gate still glowed before him, majestic, eternal, but cold in its perfection. The second gate waited behind, humble yet filled with laughter and warmth that reached him even from afar. And in that moment, Alex understood. Heaven was not about golden walls or endless crowns. It was about love, the kind that could not be severed, not even by death. He turned his back on the golden gate once more. Without hesitation, he walked toward the humbler gate, Blaze trotting at his side. The guardian did not stop him. Instead, the solemn figure bowed his head, as if honoring a choice that few would dare make. As Alex and Blaze stepped across the threshold, the world bloomed into colors brighter than flame, yet softer than dawn. He heard laughter, children, friends, voices of those long gone. He smelled bread baking, flowers blooming, rain washing clean streets, and above all, he felt it. Belonging. Not earned by valor, not granted by rules, but given freely because he had chosen love over everything else. Time in this new heaven was not measured in hours or days, but in moments of wholeness. Alex reunited with faces he thought he'd never see again, and always Blaze was there, weaving through the joy, his bark a song in the chorus of eternal peace. Sometimes, Alex would glance toward the horizon, wondering what lay beyond. But he never questioned his choice. He had made it once, long ago in the fire, to never leave Blaze behind. Now, that vow had carried him not into ruin, but into eternity. One quiet dawn, as the light of heaven painted the fields in gold, Alex knelt beside Blaze and whispered, "We made it, boy, together." Blaze pressed his head against Alex's chest, a low rumble of contentment vibrating through him. And as the endless day stretched before them, Alex finally rested, not in a place of rules and gates, but in the home love had built, together, always.